marble dwellers and jar of marble curious. My name is Linda and this is Jar of
Marbles. This is Jar of Marbles.
You right there, Bob?
Yeah, I am.
That's good. Well, this week I'd like to talk a little bit about the inner critic. Yes, we can develop a relationship with our inner critic.
We can?
We can, but instead of fighting it or trying to completely silence it, we can learn to understand and work with it. The inner critic often stems from a desire to protect us or push us forward towards improvement, though it can be harsh and limiting at times. Here are a few ways to befriend it. Well, first of all, you've got to recognise its voice, and most of us are going to know what our inner critic is, become aware of when the inner critic is speaking. Pay attention to the tone, language, and the specific criticism. Sometimes it's just a pattern of thoughts, isn't it? But once you recognise it, you can separate it from your true self.
Yeah, so here we go.
That's all right, Bob. Hang in there. Acknowledge its intentions first. Understand that the inner critic often comes from a place of trying to keep us safe or motivate us to do better. It's trying to protect us from failure, judgment, or perceived inadequacies. By acknowledging its intention, you can soften your approach to it.
Oh, yeah.
Turn the critic into a coach.
Oh, yeah, all right, like.
Instead of letting the critic shut you down, reframe it as a coach who can help guide you. You can ask yourself, what is this critic trying to teach me? Or how can I use this information to improve? Shift the perspective from judgment to constructive feedback.
Well, that's a little bit different.
Well, I think so too. Have compassion for yourself. It's important to be kind to yourself when the inner critic speaks up. Practice self-compassion by offering yourself understanding, patience, and forgiveness. Remind yourself that everyone has moments of self-doubt and you're not alone in experiencing them.
Well, yeah, that's good to know.
Well, yeah, it's true. Dialogue with the critic.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
If it feels overwhelming, you can try engaging with the inner critic directly. Like, shush, be quiet. Imagine having a conversation with it where you can express your feelings and ask for more balanced feedback. For example, I hear you telling me I'm not good enough, but I also know I've made progress and I'm trying my best. So a lot of us would have had that critic, that inner critic who has told you that you're not working hard enough, that you're not losing weight fast enough.
You said fart.
I did, Bob. Thank you. That, you're never going to learn the skill, that you're, never going to find happiness, that your life will always be this, and it's all bollocks. That's right, it is. So you've got to set boundaries. If the inner critic becomes too harsh or starts to overwhelm you, gently set boundaries. You can say to yourself, understand you're trying to protect me, but I don't need this level of criticism right now. I'm doing the best I can. So you've got to practice a bit of mindfulness. Mindfulness can help you create space between you and the inner critic. By observing your thoughts without judgment, you can gain distance from the critical voice and choose how to respond rather than react automatically. So challenge the critic's statements. When the inner critic says something negative, challenge its validity. Ask yourself, is this absolutely true? What evidence do I have to contradict this belief? That is always a good question. Say, one of my children who are adults, may I say, or a good friend, or just say something like, for example, I can never get this right, And I have said, is that true? And they go, what? So they haven't even recognised they've said something. What? And I go, what you just said then is you never get this right. Is that true? Is that actually true? And they go, well, no, it's not. And I go, but we say these things, don't we? We all do it in different ways. Things that are just, they're not true, and yet the brain just believes everything you tell it. So what evidence do I have to contradict this belief? You'll often find that the inner critic statements are exaggerated or based on unrealistic standards. You know what? That needs a clap.
Absolutely. It's always unrealistic.
Always, usually is, yes. So you've got to shift your focus to growth. Instead of seeing mistakes or imperfections as reasons for criticism, focus on growth. and learning. Recognise that making mistakes is a part of the process. It's how we learn. No one learns without making mistakes. And it doesn't make you less capable or worthy. It's your learning, which is like go you, and you're growing. Even if it's the tiniest, teensiest little bit every day, you are growing and you are learning. And that is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, go you.
That's right. So by reframing the inner critic as a voice that can be understood, calmed, and integrated into your self-awareness, you can transform its negative impact into a more balanced and constructive force.
Oh, I thought I'd be afraid, but I'm actually, no, I'm not.
That's good, Bob. Let's keep going.
Hey, you ever just want to stop someone talking mid-conversation and say, I don't care?
Well, when the inner critic takes on a humorous tone, it can feel like a surprising shift from its usual harshness. Instead of berating us with pointed criticisms and negative self-talk, hashtag the inner critic.
I'm not sure I like this inner critic. Sounds like a pain in the butt.
The inner critic might crack jokes, Bob, make sarcastic remarks or deliver exaggerated commentary on our mistakes or insecurities.
Yeah, see, nah, can't like him. Won't be sending him a Christmas card.
On one hand, humour can help diffuse the intensity of the inner critic's voice. By approaching our flaws with wit and levity, we might feel less threatened by or just be discouraged by them. For example, if we fumble through a presentation, the inner critic might say, well, that was an Oscar-worthy performance for a disaster movie. While this kind of self-deprecating humour can be a bit embarrassing, it can also make the situation feel less dire.
I always feel like I always take life with a grain of salt, plus a slice of lemon and a shot of tequila.
Oh, Bob.
How disappointing is it when you mentally plan an outfit thinking it'll be smoking hot, then you put it on and you look like an actual potato?
Instead of spiralling into shame or self-blame, we might laugh at ourselves and move on more easily.
You know, I grilled a chicken for 2 hours, still wouldn't tell me why it crossed the road.
I just want to live in a world where chickens can cross a road without having its motives questioned.
Oh yes, heaven yes.
On the other hand, humour can also make the inner critic more insidious.
Whatever that means, I agree, the inner critic sucks.
A funny comment, when delivered just right, can stick in our minds and linger longer than any sharp rebuke.
Oh yes, funny comments, I like them.
The humour may disguise an underlying negative belief, embedding it deeper into our self-perception. For example, if we miss a deadline and the inner critic jokes, yeah, you're definitely on track for Employee of the Year, if that means showing up late to everything.
See? Right there, the inner critic is plain mean and not healthy nor helpful in the long term. I mean, I reckon, well, anyway, that's my 5 cents worth.
Okay, Bob, I hear.
So hold the train. So when you're talking about the inner critic, you're talking about what we are actually saying to ourselves, right?
Yes, that's correct.
I thought the inner critic was someone that I was considering taking out back and bloody, knocking their lights out. Don't like the inner critic at all.
I know, and I guess that's where I'm going with all of this today. Humour, especially when mixed with self-criticism, can be a double-edged sword. It can lighten the mood and help us take ourselves less seriously, but it can also perpetuate negative thought patterns in a less obvious way. Recognising when humour is a tool for self-compassion versus a form of internal sabotage can be key to managing the inner critic.
Yeah, see what I mean? It sounds sabotage talk, the old inner critic. I think the clue is in the word critic. I don't have a beer gut. I have a protective covering for my rock-hard abs.
Nice, Bob.
Yeah, so what to do?
Well, Bob, quieting the inner critic doesn't happen overnight. But by taking small, intentional steps towards self-compassion, mindfulness, and a lighter approach to life.
See, I like that, like lighter.
You can create a more peaceful mental space. Take life less seriously allows room for growth and laughter.
Oh, yeah, I like the laughter bit. It's not a cure-all, but it is in other ways, isn't it?
I agree, Bob. It's a damn good start. It's hard to worry when you're laughing and laughing regularly. You then have a deeper sense of well-being. After all, you deserve to live a life full of love and acceptance, not constant self-judgment.
I have a lot of growing up to do. I realised that the other day inside my fort. Like my fort. Yeah.
Hashtag the inner critic. Quieten the inner critic for mental health and take the world a little less seriously. It's a powerful combination that can bring about more peace, joy, and self-compassion. Here are some ways to reduce the volume of your inner critic and shift your perspective.
I told my son, if you're intimidated by a date, remember one thing, they're just big raisins. Raisins, yeah.
So number 1, recognise the inner critic's voice. The first step is awareness. Refuse to give your power to things that don't advance your life or bring you joy.
Yeah!
That's right, absolutely. Pay attention to the harsh, judgmental thoughts that arise in your mind. This inner critic often manifests as a voice that constantly points out your flaws, tells you you're not enough, or urges you to strive for perfection.
Oh, shut up, inner critic!
Recognising these thoughts is key to diffusing their power. Instead of identifying with them, acknowledge them as just thoughts, not absolute truths.
You know, I was thinking,
Here we go.
erotic is using a feather. Kinky is using the whole chicken. Carry on.
Practice self-compassion.
Really though, fair dinkum, what does that mean? Self-compassion.
Are you being fair dinkum?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, so instead of listening to your inner critic, turn toward your self-compassion. Speak to yourself the way you would speak to a friend who is struggling. Help yourself as though you would help someone you really care about.
But who's gonna do that?
Or anyone that's sick of the pain.
Oh yeah, righto.
Yes, they have to have a want. They have to want to change. They're only thoughts. The inner critic is just thoughts, and thoughts can be changed.
Oh yeah, be gone, Nigel. Be gone. Off you go, Nigel.
Who's Nigel?
Well, that's what I'm calling the inner critic. Nigel.
I actually like that. Understand that mistakes and imperfections are part of being human. When you make a mistake or don't meet your own expectations, treat yourself with kindness. Reassure yourself that you're doing your best.
Yeah, you're doing really great.
You're doing the best you can and that you deserve love and patience. And for our third helpful little tip here, challenge the critic's beliefs. The inner critic,
Nigel.
Nigel often operates on outdated beliefs or unrealistic standards.
Yeah, that's true.
Challenge these thoughts by asking yourself if they are truly accurate, if this criticism that's based on facts, or is it a distorted thought?
It's a distorted thought.
Replace self-judgment with more balanced, rational thinking. For example, instead of thinking, I failed, I'm worthless, try reframing it as, I made a mistake, but that doesn't define my worth. All right.
All right, yeah, that's good. So sit down, Nigel. Yeah.
So number 4, focus on the present moment. Often the inner critic,
Nigel thrives when we're focused on the past.
well, he does, yeah, which past is usually regret, or the future, which is normally fear.
How true is that? Now listen to this very carefully.
Bringing yourself into the present moment through mindfulness practices like deep breathing, meditation, sitting quietly, or grounding exercises can help calm the inner critic, Nigel. When you're present, you can appreciate what's happening right now rather than getting lost in a cycle of self-doubt or unrealistic expectations.
Yeah, Nigel Fest. Yeah, very true. That's right.
Hashtag the inner critic. Isn't it interesting that the inner Nigel, half and half?
I like it, the inner Nigel.
I think it's interesting how the inner Nigel comes out when we're going to do something different. You know, if you're worried about walking into a room and you're just, maybe feeling very self-conscious and it's just too hard to do. And if we're feeling a bit sensitive, we will use any excuse to not do the something different. And perhaps the inner critic,
Yeah, the inner critic. Bloody Nigel, you mean?
yeah, perhaps the inner Nigel was going to sabotage everything for you. The moment that you were not going to go to the party, for example, because you were feeling shy about walking in and 100 other excuses, the inner critic has taken control of all of it. And you're left feeling perhaps disappointed and sad that you didn't go out.
That inner Nigel needs to go to his room and eat some chips, I reckon. Yeah, that's right.
So it's important to limit exposure to comparisons. Hashtag the inner critic. The inner critic loves to compare you to others, often leading to feelings of inadequacy. Social media and other external influences amplify this, doesn't it? Make a conscious effort to limit comparisons and remind yourself that everyone is on their own unique path.
Bros don't let other bros walk around with an open fly. It's called the zip code.
Celebrate your own progress and focus on what makes you feel fulfilled rather than measuring your worth against others. Number 6, embrace imperfection. We often take life too seriously.
Or do we what?
Because we hold ourselves to impossible standards.
Yeah, true, that's right.
Embrace the idea that imperfection is not only okay, but it's beautiful. It's through imperfection that we grow and we evolve.
Bring down the inner Nigel. That's right, bring down the inner Nigel.
Normalise letting go of the need to be flawless and focus on progress, not perfection.
Hey, what did the atheist Beaver say when he died and went to hell? Well, I'll be damned. Atheist Beaver.
How about the use of humour and playfulness?
How about that for a concept? That'll stop the Nigels in their track.
I like where you're going with this, Bob.
Yeah, me too.
Laughter can be a powerful tool in quieting the inner critic, the inner Nigel.
Oh, yeah. See, I feel better already.
Sometimes stepping back and viewing situations with humour can help take the edge off your own self-judgment.
Hey, you know the spider I pointed out to you?
Yeah. Did you take the spider out instead of killing it?
Sure did. We had a few drinks. Pretty cool guy. Said he works in web design.
Don't be afraid to laugh at yourself.
Oh, I do. Not Nigel. I do not.
Or find humour in the things that stress you out. Life is far less heavy when we approach it with a playful attitude.
Oh, I do enjoy a laugh.
Love that about you, Bob.
How about the cultivation of gratitude?
Well done. Good call. Gratitude is a powerful antidote to self-criticism. Isn't it what? When you focus on what you are thankful for, especially your strengths, your family, your friends, achievements, you shift your attention away from your perceived flaws.
I'm feeling grateful.
Start a gratitude practice each day. You'll have heard of the practice of writing down a few things you appreciate about yourself, your life or the people around you, the weather, the clouds, that tree. But have you actually ever done it?
Yeah, well, no, I just like the idea of it.
Things we hear about, often we don't discover the value until we actually do it.
Funny that.
I know.
My ex-girlfriend just told me she wants to get back together. Man, I sure am lucky. First I win the lottery, and now this. I'm a winner.
A biggie is consider letting go of the fear of failure.
We've talked about this a lot in other episodes.
Well, yeah, we do, and we will continue to. The inner critic often stems from a fear of failure or the belief that we must always succeed or that we're never going to get anywhere in life.
Just not realistic at all, and a bit Nigel-y, I'd say.
Let go of this fear by reframing failure as a learning opportunity.
Yeah, because that's all it is.
Mistakes are a natural part of the process.
Again, that's a part of the equation.
And they don't define who you are. Imagine a child starting to walk.
Yeah.
Just learning to get themselves from off the ground and just beginning to try a first step.
Yeah.
Does the baby give up because it can't walk perfectly after one step? No, it takes lots and lots of goes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, stupid baby, you can't walk. Right, that's it, all over. You didn't get it right first time. Yeah, what's your problem, baby? Yeah, what? Yeah, once in a while, always a Nigel. Yeah.
Okay, Bob.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, right.
By embracing the idea that failure is not only inevitable but valuable, you can take the pressure off and enjoy life more fully.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Hashtag the inner critic. Sorry, so try that one again. Hashtag the inner critic.
Down with the inner critic. Down with Nigel.
Number 10, surround yourself with positive influence. The people you interact with can have a significant impact on your mental state. Seek out those who uplift and support you and minimise your exposure to negative, critical environments.
Yeah, what good are you, Nigel?
Whether it's friends, family or online communities, surround yourself with positivity that helps you feel accepted and understood. Number 11, take things less seriously. Life can feel incredibly heavy, can't it, when we treat every situation with an intense seriousness. Sometimes taking a step back and asking, is this really that important in the grand scheme of things?
Is this a Nigel situation? Yeah, well, is it?
Well, exactly. Ask yourself that. And asking yourself that can offer a fresh perspective. Recognise that not everything needs to be perfect and not every outcome is life-altering. Embrace the flexibility to laugh, take things lightly, and enjoy the ride. Number 12, seek professional help if needed. If your inner critic becomes overwhelming or leads to issues such as anxiety or depression, it might be very helpful to get and seek some guidance from a therapist or counsellor. Cognitive behavioural therapy, CBT, and other therapeutic techniques can be effective in changing negative thought patterns and developing healthier ways of thinking. Well, you know what, Bob?
What?
It's about time to go.
No, surely not. It can't be. Please tell me it's not true. Stop Nigeling me. Is it Nigel?
No, these are real thoughts and it is time to start thinking about going. So I just want to thank everybody for joining us today. I hope that your year's going fantastic. 2025 is just zooming along anyway, isn't it? It's amazing how fast time goes. I used to think it was a bit of a conspiracy, something like 20 years ago. It's like, is 24 hours, is it really 24 hours? Or, do we lose a couple of hours in the night because days are just going faster and faster and faster? Anyway, doesn't matter. I'm not actually querying that, but, we do have the thoughts.
Oh, yes, you do have your thoughts. There's no doubt about that.
So, say good day to the family for me. Give the mosquito a flick, and we'll see you next time, okay? All right then. Bye.
Bye!